Hi, and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about how to rent an apartment in Panama because it's a question that I get asked about a lot on my TikTok, on my Instagrams. It's like, how did you get going? How did you get settled? And I want to get straight into it because I feel like it's something that if you don't know, you don't know until you're in it. And this is the information that I wish I knew before I started looking for my apartment. So I want to share this info with you as me talking to me in the past saying, hey, this is what you need to know. So let's get right into it. First of all, renting an apartment in Panama is more like looking for a house than actually renting an apartment. Because when you are on the renting apartment journey, you are meeting with either the owner of the apartment or the owner and a real estate agent. Because what happens with a lot of the apartment buildings in Panama, they are owned. So there's an apartment building, but people own different apartments in the building. So even though there is a company that owns the apartment building, they own the building, they run the building and maintain the building, but there's different owners of apartments in the building. So kind of like a condo, but not a condo. What ends up happening when you are looking for an apartment to live in, you're not going to communicate with the apartment building as the entity like you do in the States or in other places in the West. You're going to be communicating with the person that owns the apartment or the apartments that you're trying to look at. So that's why it becomes more like you're looking for a home. That's the only thing that makes it feel that way, right? So it's not like you're reaching out to the apartment building and saying, hey, I want to look at this apartment. You have to talk to the owner of the apartment or the real estate agent that lets people see particular apartments in their price range or in certain neighborhoods. How do you find apartments to even look for? The biggest website that most people go to is encuentra24.com. So on encuentra24.com, you can look at a bunch of things. It's kind of like a Craigslist, but I would not say it's a Craigslist, but it's a directory where you can look at different things. Apartments, cars, vacation homes, different things like that. But it's legit. So it's not like a Craigslist, but this is a place where real estate agents / owners post apartments that are for rent. And the website is pretty straightforward because you can improve your search results by looking at price ranges, neighborhoods, certain companies that are posting their apartments. There's another one as well that you can use that will also probably have some of the same postings, but it's just a different website that you may want to navigate and may see postings that you don't see on Encuentra24. So when you are on Encuentra24, the best thing to do is to narrow your search as much as possible because there's going to be so many postings on there. My advice is that you are looking for postings where the person is trying to rent out the home, rent out the apartment in the next month. That will be better for you and better for the person who is trying to rent out the apartment because they come and they go pretty quick, the apartments. So most of the time, the owners are not trying to rent out to you 6 months in advance. They want to know that they're going to get the money. And also for you, you want to make sure that the apartment is ready for you and ready to go. You basically don't want to get into a deal or a contract that is not ready to go. So, and then you don't want to have to sift through apartments. You don't want to have to basically deal with the fact that they won't give you the time of day because you're not ready to lease the apartment. So it's best to just start searching when you're ready to lease about a month after you start searching, so you don't waste your time and the owners don't waste their time. Just saying. So like I said, it's usually the owner or the real estate agent or both who are showing the apartments. So when you go on in Cuenta 24, you'll see who the person is that posted the apartment. So it can be a real estate company, and you can directly contact them, usually through WhatsApp or by email. So once you do that, they will connect with you to actually show you the apartment, and you can have a walkthrough, and that is when you can ask all the questions that you want to ask. And if you want me to do a part 2, I can do a part 2 to tell you all the things that you want to make sure you ask before you move into that apartment. Because again, it's not like the States, so some things are not just a given that will be an apartment. You have to make sure that those things are going to be there if that's your preference, but they're not necessarily a given. Okay? So once they show you the apartment, again, it's quick, fast. It all depends on when you want the apartment. They usually are renting it, first day of the month type of thing. So that's why I say make sure that you are ready to move in a month from when you start searching. So it's usually the first of the month that you are moving into whatever apartment that you're moving into. What they usually want you to have is first month's rent and last month's rent. They call last month's rent the deposit, but basically that's what they're going to be. Your deposit, what they're going to be holding, is going to be the same amount of your monthly rent usually. So you have to be ready up front to pay your first month's rent and your last month's rent. And your last month's rent is going to be held as a deposit. Some of the owners hold the deposit in a bank like they do in the States, and then they take it out once you move. Some of them just have it, they hold it personally. They don't have it in a bank. It's up to you if you feel okay with that. I've seen both ways, but it's going to be written in the contract where your money is held, but you just know, okay, this amount is held. And at the end of your lease agreement, you'll be given that money back, usually pretty quick, within a week at most. And that's another thing, it's not like the States where it could take months. Literally, sometimes it's easier for them to hold the money because they don't have to go through the bank, so you get it the next day. So yeah. Another thing is that you get to negotiate the price. So because you're working with the owner, they get to sell the apartment at the rate that they want. Of course, they keep it within a certain rate depending on the how much other apartments in that building are going for, but you can negotiate. So if they're posting that apartment for $1,500, you can say, I would like it for $1,200. And maybe you give them a higher deposit so they can give it to you for that rate. It's really negotiable, which is why I say it's more like buying a house than actually going into an apartment where it's this is the set rate that they post and this is what you're going to pay. But no, you can say, I want to pay this, I want to pay this based on other apartments that you've seen, and you feel like this is the price that the apartment is worth. Another thing to consider is that the apartment shopping journey can be complicated because there's so many options of what kind of apartment you can have. So these are usually the options. There are options that are that where the apartment is completely empty. There is nothing in the apartment except for walls, not even appliances. So you're just getting the physical apartment, but nothing inside. It has nothing in there. There is the second option of having an apartment that just has appliances. Everything, all types of appliances that you need are in there, and that's called Línea Blanca. So you have your fridge, you have your stove, you have a washer and dryer, but that's it, nothing else. Then your third option is mueble or sin mueble. So mueble is furniture. So in those apartments, you're gonna have appliances and you're gonna have furniture. So you can pick the option of having an apartment that is fully furnished, everything you need, and you just literally have to walk in. Usually those fully furnished apartments even have dishware. So they'll have pots, pans, everything you need, a new mattress. Literally the whole apartment is furnished and you just have to walk in with your clothes, and that's it. So those are the different options. And of course, with those options, the prices change. If you are getting an apartment that has nothing, not even appliances, you can get an apartment for cheap, okay, compared to the States, relatively, right? But once you add the appliances, the price is going to go up. Once you add fully furnished, price is going to go up. And again, if it's like an apartment on the lower floor and it's not in a high rise, it's going to vary. The high rises are going to be more money. Views that you get are going to be more money. So if you get a view of the city, it's going to be more money. If you get a view of the water, it's going to be more money. So those are the things that can make the price vary. That's why when people ask me how much are apartments, I can't just say how much they are because it just depends. Like just right there, I give you a huge range. And then a second level of that is your location, where you're getting an apartment at. If it's right in the heart of the city, it's going to be more money. If it's going to be a little bit more outside of the city, not quite, in the heart of the city, it's going to be less money. So all those things are variables that you can negotiate, okay? But you'll see the prices on the website where you're looking for apartments. You can actually toggle the search to make sure you're looking for ones that are fully furnished or ones that have nothing in them. You get to choose. So once you find an apartment you like, they're gonna want first month's and last month's deposit, and they're gonna want a few things to show that you can actually pay for the apartment. What they're asking for is different for every owner. Okay, so I preface this by saying that some owners may ask for what I'm about to say, but some owners may ask for more or less. But usually they want to see income tax. So if you're an American citizen, they want to see where's your money coming from? Can you pay for this apartment? So your income tax to show, how much you make per year. They want to see pay stubs. So 3 months pay stubs to show that you can pay the money. I have not been told personally in my apartment search how much money they want you to make to get the apartment. So like sometimes in the States, they say you have to make 2.5 times the rent. They don't say that, but they just say, hey, I want to see your pay stubs. So it's kind of like the owner deciding for themselves, okay, based on how much I see she's making, can she afford it? Based on my personal experience and other experiences from other folks that I talk to, they're not saying you have to make X amount. They're just wanting to make sure that you can cover your rent. So they're going to ask for pay stubs. They're going to ask for your income tax. They also might ask for a bank status letter. So a bank status letter is basically showing the current status of your bank account and how the average amount that you've had in your bank account in the past year. That is something that you can get online for some bank accounts, but for others, it's an actual letter that they have to mail to your house. And that's something that I ran into because I had no idea that I needed a bank status letter. And for some banks, it's called like an immigration letter, because even in the States, they use it as a way to help people get residency, to show like what their bank account looks like. So you can say immigration letter for your bank or when you're asking for it, or like a bank status letter. But basically it shows the average amount of money that you have in a bank account every month and for the past year. So what I ran into is that it was a letter that my bank could only mail to me. So I had to tell them that, hey, I'm traveling right now, so I can't get access to that letter via mail. How do I get it? So I had to go back and forth with them for them to finally let me get it via email. but they sent it through like a secured email where you have to type in a code to open up the letter that's attached in the email. So yeah, that took me a couple of days to get. I didn't readily have it on me. So all the other stuff that I just told you, you may already have them, like easily, pull up your pay stubs, easily pull up your tax return. But that I didn't have right away. So I feel like if you could just have that right away, you're fine, because they honor it, I believe, up to 3 to 6 months. So even if you get it, before you move to Panama and you have that, they're going to honor it. So that's a letter that you want to make sure that you get before you come to Panama, if possible. So those are the 3 things that I have been asked before. Oh, and one last thing that they could ask is a reference from a former landlord to show basically that, you can take care of your rent and you have no issues with that. I've also ran into just being asked for stubs, pay stubs. That's it, like nothing else. I would just ask to basically show that I can afford the apartment. And that was enough, and I was able to sign the contract. I get asked, do they do credit checks? They do not. They do not do credit checks. The things that I just mentioned that they ask for are the things that they are looking for to make sure that you can pay for the apartment, and that's about it. They usually do 12-month contracts. I have heard of some people doing 6-month contracts, but from my experience, they more so do 12-month contracts. And you do not need to be a resident. You can be visiting. They're not really concerned about that. As long as you can show that you can pay for an apartment, basically, they will lease you your apartment. You just need to have identification, which I assume you will have, but your identification will be your passport. So that's something that they will ask of you, is your passport information to have on file, and that's what they will use to put your information in the contract. And the contract are usually no more than 3 pages because they get straight to the point, no funny language that you have to really read through. The contract is going to be in Spanish, so you're going to have to translate it, and you could easily use Google Translate to translate the contract, but it's usually very straightforward. These are the terms and conditions. These are things you need to know. And then, you have your apartment. So again, something to remember is that once that happens, you then are in contract with the owner of the apartment, not the apartment building. So it can work a few different ways. You could be talking specifically to the owner to have your issues handled in the apartments, like simple maintenance issues, or the owner will have you talk to the maintenance people in the building to get maintenance issues solved. Because even though you're in contract with the owner, you're living in an apartment building. So your name will be, on the security list. If somebody comes to see you and visit you, your name will be on everything. But depending on how the owner does it, you may have to contact them to get maintenance stuff done, or the building. So those are pretty much the things that will get you an apartment in Panama. In part 2, I want to talk about all the things that you want to check for to make sure that you are finding the apartment that you need, and that you are not running into any issues that will come up later that you will not be able to work through after the fact. So if you have any more questions about what I just said, or questions for part 2, then you can drop them down below. Also remember that I do consultations, so that link is also in the description box. But thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that it was helpful as I talk about apartment living in Panama. See you all next time. Bye.